feel like such a creative person. You feel like you have so much energy, so many things that you want to do in life, so many things that you want to create for yourself, for the people around you and for the world. But there's something in the way. There's something that's blocking this beautiful creative energy. And if this is you, I wanted to create this video to show you it's possible and how I moved from that energy into an energy that is so much more playful, and an energy where I feel like I can create whatever I want and continually realize higher and higher aspects of what I can do and about my own creativity, and realizing all the unconscious conditioning and limitations that I have been putting on myself throughout life, and essentially getting to a place to become fully free in your creativity. Okay, so the first thing is realizing that whatever is blocking you from your creativity and from doing what you're excited about is not really a good thing. So we should feel pretty safe about reframing that thing into something more playful. And so that starts with asking yourself the question of what's blocking me right now? What's the most clear thing that is blocking me right now? And that usually is some kind of fear. And for me, this took many forms. And for the rest of this video, I will basically walk through the different fears that I've been having that I think are pretty universal, and different ways that I have been reframing those fears in a way that makes it more playful and reframes it into something that you can work with. So the first and biggest thing, especially for me, was being able to trust my own motivations. I remember so clearly being in conversations with friends a couple of years ago, just wanting to post on social media, but I didn't want to be like those surface level influencers that I felt like had a bad influence on the world. And I just saw that so clearly, and it just talks to my judgment for those people. And I was also seeing those parts in myself. So I remember them telling me like, but you have good motivations, right? So there's nothing for you to worry about. And I was like, I don't know, I don't trust myself completely, because I knew that I wanted to have a good impact, but I also knew that there were parts of me that were not as pure, and there were parts of me that just wanted to be seen. Maybe I had like these same surface level motivations as well. Especially for the last years, I've also been having a lot more awareness around my own ego and how my own ego grabs onto everything that I do. And it left me in a place of being completely stuck in a corner, because I can't really do anything because my ego, right? But the reframe here is that on a deep spiritual level, we have this human experience for a reason. We really are meant to have all these experiences and realize them. So the reframe is about accepting that motivations are not always 100% pure, and that can even be a good thing, especially if you have awareness around it. But I was still so afraid of losing myself in that. But essentially seeing that it's okay for me, also accepting those parts of myself that wanted to be seen, and telling myself that it's okay to be wanted to be seen. It's okay that that is part of my motivation, and it's actually in many ways a really good thing to let yourself be seen and put yourself out there. Like, you can lose yourself in that, and that can become your whole thing, but it's like that with everything. So if you do it with awareness, it's okay. And if I were to lose myself completely and just make things that on a deep level I don't want to make, it's about realizing that it's okay to do that as well. And the next block for me was essentially just being afraid to fail. And I think everything is in some way about being afraid to fail, but this was really clear for me. Like, I was just afraid of failure. I was afraid of not doing it good enough, doing it badly, essentially all the different ways of failing. I just remember very clearly my coach asking me the question of why I am scared of failing. What's the bad thing about failing? He also asked the genius question of what can you like and what can you love about failure? And I started to think, coming up with answers like, okay, that really lets me meet certain parts of myself that have been living inside me unconsciously. So it brings up fear, it brings up a lot of stuff that is a gift for me to work with. and it exposes parts of me where I'm not free. And other aspects of failure is that I learn a lot. It's the kind of learning that I really need. So on a higher level, I realized that failing is not really failing, and on a high level, I really do love failure. This made me realize that I can feed this fact into my ego because on a high level, it's true. So I'm not really tricking myself, even though sometimes all this love stuff and this like love failure, it can seem very fluffy and meaningless. But if you realize for yourself while introspecting that it's actually true, it's a completely different thing. So I would suggest you to ask yourself these questions and see if you also on a deep level actually love failure, because you see that failure is the thing blocking you and it's the thing that will also help you succeed. You're afraid of failure, but you also love failure. The truth really is that you love it, I think. And the next aspect is that I was so focused on what I was afraid of. I was just like, oh, I'm afraid of that, I'm afraid of that. I don't want to become that, I don't want that, I don't want that. But if you reframe this over to focusing on excitement, what are you excited to do? What do you love to do? Then that fear kind of starts taking a backseat, and that opens up a lot of opportunities. So if you can start asking yourself what you're excited to do right now, what small step can you take in that direction? What one thing can you do that you are excited about and that you love? And it's also realizing that fear is a little part of excitement, because usually when you are excited, there's something on the line. Just like talking to a pretty girl or something like that, you realize that there's something on the line, there's something to lose, but there's also a lot to gain. So there's a little bit of fear, but as long as there is more love, you have this excited feeling. That's what I try to focus on now. So I just focus on what I am creating, and whenever I finish something and I like posting it, this for me is just so much about social media. That's been like my thing. So I just post and I just focus on the next thing that I want to create, and it's all about the creation and not really about the result. That also makes it more exciting for me because I'm just purely focused on the creation. So this next thing might seem very simple, but I want you to stay with me and try to realize the depth of all of these things that I am talking about, because I am really just presenting a surface level thing, and I feel like when you go into these things yourself, you will actually realize it, and that's when the real work can actually happen, and that's when the real change can actually happen. The next one is literally just reducing importance. You want to take it less seriously, but you're still taking it seriously. This can be about treating certain aspects more seriously than others, like knowing that you are playing a game. So you're taking the game seriously, but on a higher level, you know that this is just play. This is just you realizing your potential. And in reality, there's nothing that is actually serious about this. Again, I'm kind of coming from and talking from a more deeper spiritual level, but that's essentially what it is. And if you can realize and see that, it becomes a lot more playful, and it helps you stay in that playful energy. So again, taking it seriously, but not taking it seriously. I'm taking it seriously that I want to put my creative energy into it, but I'm not necessarily taking all the results and when I fail and all these things so seriously, because I know that's part of the process. If I have bad emotions related to it, I'm quick to remember that this is just play, and I can feel those emotions, but from a higher perspective, I'm okay that all these things are coming up because it's part of the game that I'm playing. This next one can be quite specific, so depending on who you are, these might be super important and relevant for you, but if you're coming from a different place, it's maybe not the way for you to go, but you might use it the opposite way. So that's focusing more on quantity over quality. And this seems very black and white, and that's why I have that disclaimer in the start, because for some people it might be the opposite. You might just want to look at where you're at and what feels right to you. And from where I was coming from, this was a really big unlock. Like, I'm coming from a place of working with visual effects and spending months on one shot, being obsessed with all the details, working on every pixel. And so for me, I had really attached my identity and ego around that quality aspect. So So it was really hard for me to actually follow through and finish things unless I had worked for it for a long time. It's almost creating an illusion that you have to do something for many hours for it to be complete. I really had to treat quantity as exposure therapy, and that's essentially what I've been doing for the last week now, and I will continue to do that to reprogram my mind to learn to create more efficiently and learn. And so the reason why this is good is that you learn so much when you put in a lot of reps. So if you're doing something new, just doing it a lot and failing a lot, and if you realize that you love failing, this will resonate, because if you're doing it a lot and just kind of half-assing it in a way, you see that, oh, I'm failing a lot, so that's good, because you're experimenting and you're learning how to do it. You're learning what feels good, what ways of creating feels good to you, what ways of posting, if you're doing social media, you learn all these things by focusing on quantity over quality for a time. You might find a balance after a while, but yeah, you might be coming from the complete opposite end of the spectrum where you're just focusing on output. So maybe for you, it might be good to take a step back and put more energy into each piece. So the last point is quite a big one that I think a lot of people resonate with and struggle with. It's all about being afraid of what other people will think. So for me, it was all about that. Okay, what will people think? People will think that I am better. People will think this and that. And what I realized is that it's quite an honor if people actually think about you. Most people will probably not care that much at all. And the key here is understanding that if someone sends you negativity and hate, most of the times it's a reflection of their internal voice and how they're judging and talking to themselves. And once you see this, it's pretty easy to understand where it's coming from. And I can have love and compassion for these people, because in many ways they are having parts inside them that are suppressed and they have unlived lives inside of them. But it's not that black and white, because sometimes you will get hate, you will get negativity that really hits you, and that talks to that there is some kind of insecurity in you. And that's really good to get exposed, right? Because yeah, self-development, and there might also be some truth to it. So it's all about seeing it and not necessarily ignoring it. Look, you can love it and give it good energy. And if there's something there for you to improve, we can also love that. So we can take all of it into account, and if there's truth in it, we can change it and we can use it to work on ourselves and continue to improve. And so the last big thing for me, the big reframe, the big meta reframe, is treating everything with awareness, treating everything as opportunities to grow. Everything for me is in many ways self-development and self-improvement. And if I can remember that, whatever comes up, I can love it, I can accept it, and I can see it as an opportunity to grow, because in reality, that's actually what it is. It's realizing that you are not really your thoughts, and whatever is happening, you can take distance from it, observe it, see it for what it is, and let it go, and maybe use it to change or improve, or just let it go completely. So that is a brief walkthrough of the main points that have been challenges and how I've reframed those. I'm also posting a lot of social media. I'm also posting a lot of social media. I am also posting on Instagram, is what I meant to be saying. That's just such good articulation. This has kind of been my struggle that I'm now letting myself do completely. And so I will be sharing a lot more there. So if you want to have a look, I have a link in the description. Wow. Now I really felt like a YouTuber. But yeah, there's a link to my Instagram in the description. I don't know why it felt weird saying that, but I'm just exploring. I'm exploring my relationship, especially these last months, to spirituality, and it's crazy, and I will continue to share.